Folks, we have started streaming live, and it's 6 o'clock, so I'll call the meeting to order. Andy, if you would, the invocation, if everybody rise.
Father in heaven, we thank you, Father, for the beautiful day that we've enjoyed today. Father, this is unseasonably warm weather, Father, but we are enjoying it as we harvest. Father, we ask you to bless this meeting tonight. Father, we know that there are some hard decisions that have to be made. And Father, help us to understand and give us wisdom and understanding so that we may make the decisions that are best for this coming year's budget. Let us make the hard decisions and to the best of our ability. Help us, Father, to think of all areas so that we may do the business of Pike County. Father, we thank you once again for being here with us, and we ask your blessings. And this we pray through Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Andy Barman?
Here.
Joey Cobb. Joey texted me that his mother had had a stroke this past week, and he's off with that. Don Foster?
Here.
Lance? Tom also texted he had to go north to get some parts for their fire truck, so he said he wouldn't be here tonight. Derek?
Here.
Mark Mountain?
Here.
Jim Shepard? And Rita. Okay, there are 5 of us, and we have a quorum, so we'll move on into the only agenda item really is the number 426 budget preparation. And I know Derek has put out the electronic copies of the documents that we have drafted, and we have paper copies here tonight. Hi, Jim. Jim's joining.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Madam Chairman, I just wonder if we would be better off to start with the revenues that we know, so that we can at least figure out what we have to work with. I don't know. Just a thought.
Actually, that's where I was hoping to start, is going over the revenue and the EAD. So that'll work just fine. So with that, Derek, would you want to just give an overview of what we've got with the EAV and the revenue?
Sure. So the 2-page EAV, I emailed you guys. I called it the EAV calculator. I'm sorry it's not interactive. It's more of kind of a visual thing. But that is, to the best of my understanding, our EAV would be going up to 408 million. So if we left it at the same rate that we did this past year, the revenue generated would be $1,340,163.63. So that actually is our first number. Then if you look at the multiple sheets that Scott handed out, or if you look at the budget worksheet on the spreadsheet, that is your first number on page 2, which is property taxes.
Let me just break in. Jim, I've got more copies up here if you need one.
Did you guys get the updated EAV from Nicole on the 15th?
I haven't seen an updated EAV.
There was a board member's email on the 15th, which would be that number,
Or 07?
420. Lower right-hand corner.
Oh, okay, great. Um, 420.
That was 15th of September. Nicole sent it out about 9 in the morning.
957.
And that number was 420.
Yeah, 420.
Thank you.
I gave Derek my copy, so I have to. I looked it up this morning.
So that changes that 1340, 160 to 1381, 526.
1381, what?
1381, 526.
Okay, thank you.
And that's leaving, is that correct? That's leaving the rate the same.
That's leaving the rate the same. If we do go to the cap, it takes it to 1557, 574. So. The EAV was 420-965-957. Yep. Okay. So that being said, page 2 really has all the revenues that I believe are given to the general fund on an annual basis. So I'm more than happy to review them line by line to figure out what we think might be off, hopefully might be getting more. So however we want to approach this.
First line, I think the personal property replacement tax, unfortunately, just based on the first 2 checks the state is giving us, will not be at the 162 level. I'm thinking more of a 115 or 120,
Oh, goodness.
but that's just based, the first 2 checks they've sent us in their fiscal year have been about 2/3 of what they were last year.
Okay.
I mean, a couple of years ago, the Department of Revenue put out a whole schedule saying what it was gonna be for the whole year. But this year, they're only putting it out month by month. And I've only seen what the checks were for July and August. And last year, August was $7,600. This year, it's like $4,400. And the first check was, again, like I say, about 2/3 of what it was. So I'm assuming that the state has rated the personal property replacement tax to come up with the money for what they're going to be funding public defenders.
Okay.
Since they passed that statute where full-time public defenders are supposed to be either 80 or 85% of what a state's attorney is, but that they would fund the full salary. Just like they did with the sheriffs. When they raised the sheriff $60,000, they cut personal property replacement by $60,000.
Okay, I've changed that in the worksheet, the budget worksheet down to 120. And I changed the top number for property taxes to the 1381,526. So bottom on page 2 now for total revenue is at 547 or 43732. So we'll keep going through revenues here and see what that ends up being at. I am open to how we can verify with the state what the reimbursements for the supervisor of assessments, state's attorney, public defender, and probation office are?
Supervisor assessments is 50% of her salary.
50%, okay,
So
thank you.
we're giving, we approved a $1,000 raise for Nicole for next year, so it should go up by $500, assuming that the 30,808 is right.
Okay,
State's attorney is 100% reimbursed, and they got a raise, but, and I know Walker told me what it was, but I didn't write it down, I can't tell you. It was a fairly robust raise, I think 5 or 6%.
It went up to like 170, and somehow changed July 1st.
To 170, okay.
so I should change the 139 to 170 also, so that's what we should get reimbursed from the state then, correct? We get 100% reimbursement for the state's attorney salary? Yes? All right.
My understanding.
Public defender?
Currently, we get 2/3 of the public defender's salary reimbursed by the state. They passed a new act at the spring session, and this one, you may need to get some guidance from the judge. If it's a full-time public defender, they are supposed to be, Walker, is it 80 or 85% of your salary?
85% of my salary, but I don't think that goes into effect until January 1st, 27.
Okay, I didn't see an effective date on it, so we can just leave that, whatever, 2/3 of whatever we decide to pay Rick will be fine for that number.
Okay. And then the probation office, Evan's not here, okay. I think that's about what we had last.
Usually Evan can tell you that number, they tell her, you know,
Okay.
they'll reimburse 100% of her staff salary. The only person they will not reimburse anything on is the secretary of probation. So, and then AOIC basically sets their raises, so whatever their raises are, their salaries are supposed to be next year will be fulfilled by that line.
And then also a victim witness, we're notified it's going to be reimbursed $35,000.
What did you say, Walker?
Victim witness.
Oh, victim witness, sorry.
In my office. Going to be reimbursed $35,000.
And as far as whatever you get for elections, that's a question for Natalie. I mean, next year being a general election, usually they pony up more. But she can answer that better than I can. The rest of them basically, you know, based on this year's numbers and economic data are gonna drive income tax, sales tax, that sort of thing.
The sheriff's salary is 80% of the state's attorney.
Yeah.
What does the state reimburse us for theirs? For the sheriff?
They reimburse the, good God, what does that come in at? It's not 100%, but it's,
Would the sheriff know?
yeah,
Or,
the sheriff should know. I want to say it's another 2/3. but
Okay.
It's between 2/3 and 70%,
I'll put to ask him then.
but you're pretty close with the 85,000.
Do you remember, Scott?
Not right offhand.
All right.
I didn't get that. I had to take the balance of 5 times 24. What's coming in now?
All right, so then, just proceeding to the next line, we have other. We had budgeted 147. In 2024, we collected 99. So far this year, we've collected 140, but I wasn't really sure what was being figured as other to put a number in that category.
Does that include the 83,000 that the circuit clerk transferred a month and a half ago?
No, that is, well, I mean, we could put it in that
Well,
line.
I don't know which other line it went into.
Uh,
Because that 83 was basically collected over a 3-year period. I mean, it goes into some, but we can't count on 83.
Okay. So you're
I'm
saying
just saying that 83, whenever we find that line, needs to be about 1/3 of that money.
I got you. Okay. So I'm going to put 83 divided by 3.
Yeah, so you go, 27,667 or whatever.
Yep. And I'm putting notes in here that should be this, was that county clerk other, or who, was that the recorder fund? Where did
I
that?
don't know, it came out of recorder fund.
Okay.
But it's recording fees, but it hadn't been. Yeah, technically the fees of others she reports on.
From
But I don't
recording.
know which line it got deposited on as far as the revenue side.
Larry,
Yeah.
what was that one? What did you just change?
We are changing the other line that had a blank, but next to it was 14121. We're filling that in, that blank with 27,667. Then we have deputy sheriff's salary. I put in 17,000, but I wasn't sure how that's paid. Is that another state type of?
I believe that one is the salary they do for doing patrolling on the John Hay area over in the west side of the county. And it fluctuates a little, but usually 14,500 to 17,000.
And well, so we got 16,891 this past year. Are the community, who's paying for that again?
It's from the state. But
From the state.
It's their area over on the west side of the county, the John Hay, whatever the proper name for it is. But we're obligated to patrol that for them and they reimburse us.
Okay. All righty. There was an emergency services line that had 17,000 budgeted in it, but we didn't do anything in 94 or David's here. We didn't use any of it in 2024. We haven't used any in 2025. So do you anticipate what emergency services we might?
That is a question for Josh Martin.
Josh Martin.
A lot of his activities can be reimbursed at 50%. And that office runs between $35,000 and $40,000 budgeted. He doesn't spend anywhere near that, but he can apply to Illinois IP, EPA, and get reimbursed for this if he does the paperwork.
Okay. I got a note in there to ask Josh then. Circuit clerk fees, we had budgeted 375. Well, in 2024 was 365, budgeted 375 so far. Looks like we're going to collect 340. I put in 350,000. Do you think that'll be in line, lower, higher?
I look for it to be lower,
Maybe
unfortunately.
knock it down to like 320, 300,
I'd say shoot for
320? Okay,
I can get back to you on that once I look at some stuff.
that's fine. County clerk fees, 24 was 150, budgeted 155. We've actually collected around 160, so I left it at 160. We can ask Natalie about that if she thinks those will stay. Sheriff fees, 490,000 in 24, 500,000 budgeted, 507 collected. I put in 500,000. Sheriff Greenwood, do you think your fees will stay around $500,000, or do you anticipate those going higher, lower?
I would anticipate it being the same or a little higher.
Okay, great. Then there was a salary reimbursement that I think was for, I think we determined that was for public defender, but may have been paid in the prior year. So there wasn't anything in 24, budgeted 101,909, didn't collect anything in this year, so I didn't budget anything for it this year either. Then there was the health reimbursement line. We didn't have anything in that line in '24, budgeted 410,000, so far collected 12,000. I didn't put anything in that line yet because I wasn't sure. This goes back to our accounting situation to where we have a Fund 18 that we're dealing with and whether things get allocated in the right spots or not. I think that line can be used if we use it properly for being reimbursed either from the employees' payroll deductions or from the departments. But right now, it's not being allocated correctly. So emergency phone reimbursement, we had 158,000 in '24, budgeted 167,107, spent 160 or collected 166,107. I have no idea why I put 174,000 in there. It's emergency
Not
phone
bad.
reimbursement. Can you help me with that one?
Well,
It's good enough.
tentatively, we will leave it the same,
Leave it the same?
but we
Okay.
will, I mean, when we get the FOP contract settled, if there is a change, we will adjust that. Because it essentially is 2 dispatcher salaries, half of the pay of our 911 coordinator, and then holidays and a share of the overtime. And of course, Dave may have, depending on how the overtime situation is, may have to make a slight adjustment to the 166, 107 when it gets towards the end of November. But right now, I would just say that number will be the number we'll use going forward.
Okay. Landfill tipping fee, we had 322 and 24. Wait, do you have a question?
Yeah, what number are we using, the 174 or 166?
Use the 166.
Yeah, I changed it to 166, 107 in the spreadsheet.
The landfill said there is a possibility that there could be some more cleanup at the Ameren plant. And if so, there could be a little more revenue from that. But I think if you leave it where it's at, we let them
Yeah.
surprise us.
Well, we do have a CPI adjustment in that contract. And what, 2.5, 2.6, is that the consumer price index right now? So you can use
Yeah,
2.5% increase for next year, assuming the tonnage stays the same.
Okay, so if we collect 304, I could take that times 1.025 and say,
And
okay,
say it to 311, whatever.
all right,
I mean, it's small, but it's there.
$7,500.
all right. So that 300 now changes to 312,104. And that was figured at 2.5%.
How did you get 312?
Revenue from services, other, collected 94 and 24, budgeted 70, collected 38. I threw in 10,000 because I'm not sure who the other are that we're collecting from.
That's one gets thrown in a lot, it's different times, it depends where the money gets deposited. And I can't even tell you now, after all these years, where all of it comes from.
Okay. So I might just leave that at 10 since, I mean, if we knew we had other revenue coming in from some source and I didn't have a line for it, I'd throw it in there. But since we don't know of one right now, I'll just leave it at 10, hoping that we get something from somewhere. Interest, collected 51 and 24, budgeted 60, collected 56,811 so far. 55,000 is what I had budgeted for the next year. Animal control,
What is that interest? Do we know where that's coming from?
Scott?
That's Scott.
I mean, we could look in the detailed, I can see what actually hit that line to figure out where it came from, but off the top of my head, I mean, I assumed it was CD interest or whatever else from something, but I don't know if it's coming from other departments, if we're sitting on CD someplace, or if it's just the interest that accumulates from our funds as we have them sitting there. But I mean, there's 56,000 that's been deposited in there so far, so we are getting money. I just can't tell you where it's coming from. And we got 51,000 last year, so. I'll check the detailed list to see if I can figure out where it's coming from. To see where it's coming from. All right, animal control. I think that's the fees that we collect, because then we have animal adoptions. But I want to say animal control are fees that we collect. In 24, we collected 42.65, or maybe it's when somebody takes them. I think maybe we charge something for that. But anyway, 42.65, 4,700 is what we budgeted. We've collected 3,000, so I dropped it down to 2,500 for 2026. Animal adoptions, we had 18,490, budgeted 18,560, and so far we're at about 12,000, so I dropped that down to 10,000, trying to be conservative. Arrestee medical costs, we didn't have any expense in 24. We budgeted 10, we've spent 10. I looked through past years on that, and that just seems to fluctuate from year to year on what is that if they need service or something?
There is a special fund
Okay,
called arrestee medical costs, and we can transfer from it to cover some of that. Obviously, our arrestee medical costs are actually closer to 200,000. This is a drop in what they cost us, but
well, and should they not be on Medicaid, or I don't understand how that works. It seems like the county shouldn't have to be paying this if they are eligible for other benefits of some type, but. They're not eligible for,
I don't think they're eligible while they're incarcerated. But I mean,
okay. Okay. All right. And then license and permits, 4,524, 4,500 budgeted, 4,500 collected. I don't know why I put 3,500, but it seems like 4,500, unless it was from prior years, maybe.
That's liquor licenses, so.
Okay. Oh, well, that could be why then.
That's an easy calculation, just however many we've got out there, times 500.
Okay. So liquor license.
45? You changed that to 45?
Well, yeah, just however many we've got out there.
All right, then the final one was other. Didn't have anything in 24 for that category. Budgeted 505,000. So far collected $300, and I estimated it'd be about 250 for the next year. So after all of those changes, our revenue is at $5,469,360. So again, that's $5,469,360. Now, that is all the revenue that I'm aware of to put into the general fund here. Now, of course, this doesn't have anything to do with special funds. I don't think I've attributed any extra revenue in the general fund from special funds. So there is a possibility of having additional monies potentially from special funds, assuming that department heads agree to that and figure out some type of an arrangement to make sure that we get it. We've had situations where some departments have said they would do it, and then they said they didn't need to do it, and that makes it difficult to budget. So hopefully if you're going to commit to putting money from a special fund towards expenses, you need to commit the money so we can kind of keep track of this. So then if you've got the spreadsheet open, or even if you want to look at the paper copy on page 1, it had the general fund total revenues from pages 2 and 3. Again, that 2026 number is now 460 or 5469,360. And then below that is where we start looking at expenditures for the entire offices. So I went ahead and totaled the offices, so that way it was easier to see all of the expense from the general fund offices right next to your revenues. So for example, in 2025, we had budgeted 6.9 million in revenues, and we had 8.4 million in expenses. So far, it looks like we're really going to have about 5.6 million in revenues, but we still have 6.4 million in expenses or estimated expenses. And I think we're all aware of that. We're going to be a bit short this year. But that also shows us that for next year, you know, if we had a almost $700,000 deficit based off of our current budget numbers, and our revenue is projected to be right now about $200,000 less than even last year's, that means we've got to get our expenses down in the 5.6 range and not in the 6.4. So as you look at those expenses, the coroner's office total expense is $39,000. The sheriff's office is $2.683 million. Building and grounds is $245,000. Regional superintendent's only $32,000. Court expense $67,000. Public defender $149,000. Probation office $243,000. County other expenditures $1.260 million. County clerk's office $339,000. Circuit clerk's office $202,000. State's attorney's office $364,000.
Keep in mind, though, that on some of these, you're going to have to net out. I mean, you know, if it's being netted out, that's indicated up in the revenue line, at least.
Well, I think that's how it's potentially been done in the past. So if you had payroll of 200,000, but you had a special fund that paid in 80, what was being?
I'm not talking about a special fund, I'm talking about a reimbursement. So I mean, that's an accurate number, but, you know, it doesn't reflect the actual cost to the county because you're getting that revenue. But that revenue, it is indicated up in the revenue line as a reimbursement to the state.
So what I think you're saying is that the state's attorney's office really doesn't cost $364,000 because of what we get from the state?
It only costs approximately this year, actual money that the county has to come up with. It's only, and I made this point every year, but like this year, it's only costing about $166,700 in money that the county has to generate to pay for my office.
And I would agree with that. As I think you can see, it's just I'm taking total revenues against total expenses.
Yeah.
So, but what you're saying completely, it washes itself out. So I know what you're saying.
There was a little bit of a discussion at our board meeting about interest off of CDs. Now, did we figure that the interest off the CDs had to go into the general fund?
Yes.
So,
Well, that was, are you talking, and I think we brought this up in finance too. I don't know that we've ever received a definitive answer on what interest can go into the general fund from what CDs. So
Don, do you have a citation on that?
Not on that. I have some information back from other individuals. From other individuals in different counties. One of them's on the UCCI Executive Council. And his comment is, and he did the research, there is nothing in the Illinois statutes that prevents the county board from sweeping the interest in a fund, in a fund. The interest earned from these funds can, at the county board's discretion, be transferred to the general, corporate, or special tax funds. Interest cannot be transferred on any restricted or earmarked funds. That's his research that he did on Illinois statutes for me. He is on, like I said, this gentleman,
Really doesn't tell us much.
other than we can't.
I didn't hear a definitive answer out of that
I was
either.
gonna say, now I gotta know the difference between special and restricted.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, like highway, would highway be considered a restricted?
I don't
Or
know. I
special?
haven't got his answer back with what
And
they
it-
are.
It's just like the CDs that the ambulance
Right.
has. The money that's in there is restricted. But what about the interest? We don't know.
We don't know for sure. And
And
that,
that's,
that was a question I fired back to him. What exactly
Yeah.
is that? But he said that there was nothing in the statutes that prevents us from sweeping the interest off of those funds.
Casey, do you have any idea how much the interest was gained this year? It's nice.
So technically.
You want to keep it.
If I understand your answer correctly, I
And I don't
can't
blame
take the interest off of taxes collected before I disperse it,
Yes,
because that's not restricted, we're special.
right. That's not restricted.
Okay, so when we collect the taxes, we accumulate it, it's drawing interest and before we get it out to everybody else. Is that,
We could theoretically sweep, yeah,
okay.
I mean, from what he's telling me.
Right.
Where does that interest usually go before? I mean, where has it gone before? Or,
Tax advice.
I see.
At least that's what Scott told us 2 months ago.
This answer, like you said, doesn't give everything that we need to know.
Right.
But I've only been posing this to him in less than a week. So he hasn't had time. He gave me a quick answer because of our board budget meeting for tonight.
Do you have any idea the kind of interest gained from the tax money that before?
It's gonna be more this year because I changed what we did. UCB gave me a graduated amount, a higher benefit deposit. Farmer State started doing the same thing, because I wasn't taking any deposits over there. Farmer State now is 3.3, interest of UCB is 3.1. That's nothing all gets like 5. So it's gonna be more this year than it was in the past. I was getting as much from UCB last year as I did with all the other banks put together.
In ballpark figure?
But if we have all the money in one bank though, do we run into that $250,000 problem? Or,
If they make securities at the end of each day,
They collateralize
they
it.
collateralize their day.
oh,
Both
okay,
of them did.
okay.
Casey, what did you say you thought yours was?
Between 20 and 30,000.
Thank you.
Highways big enough, I mean, you got $1 million in highway CDs.
Did Sheriff leave?
He's outside on the phone.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, he actually submitted his budget to me, and I got his numbers entered in. And then I thought maybe we could also look at our general fund expenses in the other category to, kind of go over those. And then animal shelter would be another one that maybe we could review. But Bryce, you're here unless you've got any. Okay. Or Casey. Okay, just here to listen for right now. Fair enough. Andrew, you guys are okay? Okay, great. Yeah,
What should we, for our amount that we'll get on taxes, should we assume the 21 of that 420 number?
At this point, I don't know that you should assume anything. I don't mean to sound flippant or anything, but we're just starting our discussions, and I don't know that you
So they
you
can't
can count on
submit,
anything.
so they can't submit a budget till we decide what the rate is?
Well, they'll have to,
Yeah, we,
That's what you're telling her.
they'll have to submit a budget.
Are we talking
She wants to know what multiplier to use for the power health department's share of
Health
property
department.
tax. So she can't start till we tell her a number, I guess.
Everybody else is submitting a budget. But she can't submit one until she gets,
Well, if she literally just got told, don't assume anything, that's several, that's what, you get a levy of .01, so 420,000 would be her max. So she has to figure some number between 0 and 420
okay.
on a budget of 1.5 million. So she can't start.
And maybe this is segue to that, but when are we gonna have a decision on the employee contribution for health insurance? Because I kind of need to know what that's gonna be before I can figure out where my salary numbers are gonna be, because I don't want to be cutting compensation for people who've been doing a good job for me. You follow me?
I think so. So you're saying if the board decides to, whatever the board decides to have employees pay for their insurance, you intend to offset it by raising their salary?
I need to know that number to figure out what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I need to know what I'm going to do because also my employees want to know. And my goal is retention of a good team that I have right now. And when it comes time to talk about my budget, I will talk about it. But I kind of need to know when that number is going to be coming forward so I can plug that into my thinking.
Doesn't open enrollment start like this week?
Tomorrow.
So employees are having to decide what plan they want, not knowing what the county portion is going to be?
Well, I'm asking you guys that.
That doesn't sound right.
Well, and as I said last time, our attorney has asked that we not discuss that in open meeting,
Well,
and that we'll be discussing that later.
Well, that's fine. I just want to know when. Because, and I'm not getting, I'm not being combative here, but, we have to post the budget to the public no later than November 7th. And I want to get numbers to you, and I want to stand before you and justify what my numbers are. But until I know what that number is going to be, I'm kind of flying in the dark.
That's 38 days. Right?
Well, it's 15 days from November 24th, which is the meeting, and that happened to land on the weekend, so it would have to be published to the public by November 7th. I mean,
That's 38 days from today.
yeah, it's coming up fast.
Madam Chair, I have a question. And this question is for Andy, Jim, and whoever sat on contract negotiations in the past. Walker, has there ever been a time where we got to this point without that figure being set? Because I've been on several negotiations with Mr. Berkey, and that's never come up before like that. We always set that rate in insurance, and then it gets approved by the full board well in advance of any negotiation. Is that correct, Jim?
That's correct. I've never hit October 1st without knowing that number.
What I'm afraid of is that we're at a point where we're probably not going to be able to change that rate this year, for next year. I don't see any way that you're going to be able to change that because of the employees and negotiations too.
I talked to Mr. Barkey today, and he urged me to get things moving, so
I'm not against changing what the employees have to pay. I'm not against that. I'm just saying we're too close to the deadline on the budget to do it this year. That's just my opinion, my feelings.
I think we can change the up to 10% allowed in the contract, but radically changing it, I know how negotiations and how unions work, and we won't have it settled by December 1st.
What,
They have no incentive to settle by December 1st.
how much did Hope Trust change?
9%.
9%. So we gotta go that month.
I can't hear you, Sheriff.
Yes,
Dave, use your outside voice, please.
come forward and use the mic, please.
Well, we're so worried about making everything public. Where's all the secrecy coming from on this? And what's the hold up on this? I talked to Mr. Barkey today too, and he's frustrated. So,
What's he frustrated about?
of what we're frustrated with. He doesn't know where we are in this. I don't know where, this is really gonna affect the sheriff's office. Not having no idea where we are with this. Nobody from the labor committee has reached out to me. What I understand, you're the new chairperson, right? Or you are?
No, I am.
You are, okay.
Yeah.
So you're still chairperson.
And I talked to, and I've been waiting for direction because Madam Chair's been communicating with Mr. Barkey. I called him today, and I plan on calling a labor committee meeting like real soon. Because he urged me to get this process going as fast as possible. Because under what he's been told in the past about the current situation is not a good position to be at this point in time. And enough is enough. It's time to get moving with that. I'll be talking later on about setting a labor committee meeting because we've got to start moving. We've got to. I've been involved in too many of these negotiations, not only with the county and the state. In my opinion, this is ridiculous. We got to get to move. These have lasting consequences that if we sit back and don't respond, we've got to get a move on. And always in the past, that insurance rate has been set well in advance of any negotiations.
I don't remember
buy
ever
that.
voting on that.
I don't buy that.
It was always.
We got to get to
It
moving.
was always, insurance rates were always set in September.
Well-
And we are there are legal obligations as well.
I really would prefer that we not talk about this
Well,
anymore in open
will-
meeting.
this will
I'll
not
be
violate-
happy to
This
touch
will
base
not
with them
violate any
again.
union negotiations, what I'm about to say. We are under legal obligations to all our employees to give them the notification 60 days before changes take effect of any changes in their benefits. That's federal law. So they have to have that in their hands by the end of October. I mean, technically you can say the 2nd of November, but since open enrollment is October, they have to have that in their hand to make their decision. It's federal law. Actually, Chris Johnson forwarded that to me after the board meeting last week.
Then since we have a month, let's please just get back to reviewing the budget, which is on the agenda for tonight. I think that will help us move forward when we can get a clearer picture of our revenue.
A good part of this budget talk has to do with negotiations.
It bothers me very much if our attorney is saying one thing to you and something else to me.
Well, Madam Chair, I'm the chairman of the Labor Committee until you remove me from that committee. But if we're going to continue to drag our feet and not move forward, I suggest you replace me on that committee. Because I know where it's headed.
Can I ask, why was Mr. Barlow removed from the committee?
I was only on there because I was chair.
Okay, all right,
I was on the committee because I was chair.
okay.
So I
And
did.
then,
I
when I
will.
started, what's the secrecy? Why are we holding, what's taking so long on insurance?
I would speak, I think at this time it would be a mistake to remove Mark. Because Mark's negotiated for the state of Illinois in labor with the corrections, and it's,
I'm telling you, Madam Chair, we're headed for big problems to where somebody will be telling us what we're going to do. There won't be no options. They're going to be telling us what we're going to do.
Well, if we know that the health insurance is going to go up 9 point something, and our current union contracts say we have a limit of 10, we need to go ahead and establish the 10 and work forward from that.
I would not disagree with that, but there's going to have to be, it's got to be on the agenda, and there has to be
Okay.
a meeting for it.
Okay. I agree on that. I just stating my opinion on that right now, Mark. That's, you know, we took a big hit on health insurance last year because of the union contract. So,
David, I don't think there's a secrecy necessarily, and I'll take the blame on this. As I said in the beginning, when I was going through the bidding process, I felt the health insurance has been the tail wagging the dog. We've always figured, here's the health insurance premium, and then we had to fix it into the budget, and then whatever we had left over afterwards was what we got to spend on the budget. I don't think the health insurance should be driving our budget. So I have not purposely said, here's what the county's obligated to pay, because I wanted to have this discussion. I wanted the board members to say, here's what we paid last year in health insurance. We're already $700,000 deficit right now, probably $500,000 deficit. I mean, we're talking cutting complete departments out. I mean, there's not really a place that you can start cutting to save $500,000. So for me to arbitrarily say, I know we got a $500,000 deficit, but this is what you're going to be paying for health insurance, county, that's all there is to it, I didn't think was the right way to go. So I purposely did not set an amount that the county was going to pay on the health insurance, because I wanted to have the rest of this discussion to figure out where are we going to make up this $500,000 deficit. So it wasn't a secret, like I know a number and we're not telling you what it is. I was waiting to have the board look at the whole budget and figure out what do we want to spend. And that's where we're at this point. So,
I get that.
so
Any timeframe when we need to start negotiations?
I,
Unless we do,
aside from, I know Rita's been getting some conflicting information, we were going to hopefully go over the other expenses in the county to figure out where we potentially could cut some expenses there. But it makes it very difficult in my mind to do the math and say, if we're already starting at a $500,000 deficit, oh, but by the way, we're going to pay this much more for health insurance. Now that just puts us behind even more. And we have $500,000 of money we just borrowed that we have to pay back next year too. And so we've got to figure those expenses in for paying as we go on top of the expenses that we've got. So it's a problem that I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. And I had hoped that I was making a mistake on what our revenues are, but it doesn't seem to be the case. And our expenses are $700,000 to $500,000 more than that. So as we talk about these negotiations, it would be nice to have the answer if we are going to have to pay these because of the contract. Where do we get the money to pay for it? because we don't have the money now to pay for what we have. We have to continue to borrow it. So,
But we know there's a limit of 10%.
pardon me?
Per the contract, we know there's a limit of 10% for the FOP contract.
Well, and that ends, another thing that I've got a problem with is that we have a contract negotiation that seems to drive the rest of the county. So, the FOP contract says you can only raise 10%. Well, then apparently that also means the rest of the county can only go up 10% too. I've never understood that if a union is negotiating one thing, that the rest of the employees that are part of that organization that union gets to benefit from that. So I don't know how that's supposed to work either. And that was going to be another question I was going to ask. If we're limited to where the FOP people can go up 10%, are we limited for the rest of the employees? Could they go up more than 10%? But then I assume that you're going to have the human resource and payroll saying, well, now we've got two different types of deductions we have to do. Are these an FOP person or that an FOP person? So then we'll have to listen to that. So all of this is going on in my head, saying, where are we going to get the revenue? What are the expense increases going to be? Can we leave them where they were? Can we raise them? Can we, lower them? I don't know. That's what this discussion is supposed to be about. But I just want to let you know, I don't know of anybody that's intentionally hiding anything. It is just a matter of trying to get the numbers out there to discuss them.
Appreciate it.
Madam Chair, can we put this on next week's agenda to work on?
Let me check with the attorney and see what he advises. If it's fine, I'm not opposed to doing that.
Okay. So that we can get some, because the way I see it, our union contracts do have that limit in there, but not for next year, because that's what we're trying to negotiate.
That's right.
Well,
And it's only for the union people. So the other people can get raised more if
And then-
necessary.
And then you have another union to deal with.
and there,
Yes, I
That's
agree.
exactly
But
what
I'm just-
happened.
I'm just stating the way I see it.
there is language in the union contract that the FOP shall pay the same amount as other county employees. That is holdover from when there was another union, and they were on a different yearly cycle than the FOP, and the FOP didn't want them getting a better deal than them, so they put the word same in there.
I see.
And it is held over on subsequent contracts, even though that other union no longer exists. Now, what are the chances that an FOP person is going to file a grievance if we charge more for non-union employees? Probably slim. But technically, the language is in it.
Don't we have two unions?
We have two unions, just the ambulance
FOP
union and the other.
And Casey's,
Yeah.
and, okay, just
I
making
mean,
sure.
there is talk that we'll have two more, but nothing is finalized.
Kim, did you have something?
Just on the insurance also, as well as the employee portion, so to do our budget, I'm sure Casey and I would say, since we pay that portion that the county pays, that's another element that I need to be able to provide my budget to you. So those are actually the two probably largest portions of our budget is our property taxes and the insurance, and those are the two missing pieces for us. So just to let you know that it is, yes, the employee portion is a concern as well, but it also affects how we generate our budgets too. So the sooner we know that, the sooner we can budget for our expenses too. So thank you.
Okay. Did you want to talk more about the sheriff's budget?
It's here. I don't know if anyone has any questions for David or not.
Now, the numbers I said, disregarding the numbers I said today, that was real quick, accurate.
Oh, does that look like what you put today?
Yes.
Okay. I'm assuming you get a raise because we approved you one over 4 years ago, or
Yeah.
3.5.
Yeah.
So I don't know what exactly the
Well, I just,
The 122, 330 would go up 10 by 1,000, I believe it's 1,000.
okay, yeah.
That would get- I-
Going by that 80%.
And I'm assuming the estimates on the A, B, and C are just because we don't have a union contract.
Correct. And also, Mr. Ross got the spreadsheet sent out a couple weeks ago. So those numbers are helpful.
David, maybe you could move up to the table and use the mic?
There you go.
Thank you, sorry to ask.
So, yeah, Mr. Ross sent out the spreadsheet, it was a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. But some of those numbers were really helpful. Some of them were off, I believe, but I understand how you did it. It's just a general.
So the A, B, and C salaries are on the current level.
The numbers, what they are right now,
Yeah. Did you add anything
no.
above what they are now? So they're at current levels.
Yes,
Yeah.
those line items,
Yeah.
the A and B aren't over budget. But overall, I'm under budget.
Yeah.
But, yeah, those are over. We had,
No, I'm not meaning that. Your projected 2026
oh, yeah,
salary is based on current levels without any increase.
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, that's kind of, that's
Okay.
kind of where I was driving at. and
Okay.
Didn't frame well either. Do you have a bunch of overtime payable yet this year? Because I mean, according to Mr. Ross's figures, you've only paid 35,000. So, do I really congratulate you on nipping that down?
Well.
Or is there a November surprise?
There will be some in November.
Okay.
That has to be paid out, but it shouldn't be a huge amount. I believe some of the unit A and unit B should have been taken out of the overtime in the payroll, and that's why I still have that at 90 for 26
Okay, I knew that,
to shift those numbers.
and I knew that Unit C had done fairly well on overtime this year.
Yeah,
Stephanie's
we've been fully staffed.
Stephanie's been fully staffed for several months, so.
Unit A, we've had a problem. We've had 2 deputies for some of the time, at the same time, out for surgery. So
Yeah.
those have to be, covered. So,
And I know what Unit B's been, so.
yeah.
Okay. Training 20,000, that's fairly normal. You think you can buy on 22 on supplies and uniforms?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's one with, with Kevlar only lasting a couple of years, and that gets the money real quick.
It does, and those are expensive, but I think we still have a couple, and we get a grant, they pay 50% whenever we do it, it's bulletproof, as long as we can get all the audit stuff done. If we don't do it.
Yeah, I know that, and that's a pain. Is there any other additional, I know body cams, what's the lifespan on those? Because you had to get all new when our wonderful Safety Act took effect in '23.
We did, but most of that money was either grant or donated
Okay.
for those. Now, there's grants out there we could get right now because of
The audit situation.
We're on
Yeah.
no pay list.
Dave,
Yes.
now I lost my question. Oh, the Kevlar, you say they're only good for 2 years?
5 years.
5, okay, it seems like 2.
Yeah. So
Okay, but
we've
they're
still
fine.
got a little bit of time.
Okay, good. Yeah, when Jim asked that question, it's like, that needs to be in there if it's only 2 years.
Yeah, and that's, the laws state that.
Okay.
But Kevlar doesn't deteriorate.
I know, but it's a keep the industry employed, so.
Okay.
It keeps the other departments supplied. Like the Department of Corrections used to take the state police's full
Yeah.
staff.
Maintenance and support.
Okay. Hoarding prisoners. My favorite line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got a 285 in, which looks to be fairly on track with what you're spending this year. Any surprises, changes? I mean, the population is not going to go up drastically unless you get a lot of feds, in which case I don't care.
Right, yeah. Right now, I believe we're at 15. We just got another one. And so they're still working with us. Yeah, there's no big surprises unless the state of Illinois comes down with something. You just never know.
How many sales are currently down? 4, 3?
Yeah, in A block, there's 4 cells in that block where we have the plumbing issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got how many in there now, Dave?
How many inmates?
Yeah.
Today we had 27. We have actually more federal inmates than we have state.
But how many feds do you have?
15.
You have 15 feds, okay.
And I'm assuming that nurse's contract comes out of that boarding prisoners number.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, that's all I'm gonna say on it.
Okay.
I've already asked Anita for 3 years to hire me a nurse and just give me 10 hours a week for the sheriff's department,
Yeah.
and we will gladly pay a big chunk of her salary.
Can you go back up? I'm sorry if I missed it, but the overtime, can you explain that?
Yeah, I think some of the overtime, I know it shows estimated 35,000. The line item, it was 90,000 was appropriated. Some of that I believe, and I haven't been able to really go in depth with it, but I believe some of that money should have come out of A and B. Some of that overtime line item should have went to A and B. Does that make sense? So some of the money that was paid like in Unit A should have come out of the overtime line item. Same with B.
Okay.
But I haven't had time to really go through everything. Scott sent me the detailed budget status report.
So you think the 90,000 is real? It's just payments were made out of other lines?
Yes.
Okay.
And this goes back to the payroll information are journal entries. So if they're not journal entering it in as overtime and they're putting it in A or B, then it may not have been what really happened, but that's how they journal entered it into.
That's how it was entered.
Yeah, so, and I only can report, it's what's given to me. So if that's how they put it in, then that's the way I have to report it. So if it's in error, I apologize, but
No,
it's.
there's no reason to that. And I'm still going through it to see if that's the case. I believe some of it is. Natalie and Catherine were working hard to get the sheriff's office set up with Paycom. I know that was kind of a struggle here. I think that will help being able to submit stuff.
Yeah, then it should separate it within the system, and
Right,
this is
yeah.
over time, yeah, so it should be a lot more accurate at that point.
The big one at the bottom, capital outlay.
Yeah,
We've still got lease purchase agreements, right?
yes, for 2 more years.
For 2 more years, so the 61,000 is locked in. Barring, a vehicle dying and having to replace.
Correct. It's actually a little over 50,000.
Uh-huh.
That payment would be for 2 more years. The capital outlay, I just added an extra 10,000 in there, because you never know what's going to happen, whether it's going
Yeah,
to something
okay,
happen.
okay, well, I just wanted to make sure I thought we still had terms on that, but I wanted to be sure.
Yeah,
The leased vehicles that you have, you said there's 2 more years,
2
right?
more years.
And then are they our vehicles after that?
Yes,
And you plan on keeping?
yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's any life left.
Yeah.
Now, you get various reimbursements from city contracts, SROs, that sort of stuff, and that's part of the 500,000, or is that accounted for differently? As far
That
as
should be part of that.
500,000 in sheriff
Yeah.
fees, okay. Any of those contracts close to being up?
Yeah, that's my,
Okay. Okay.
We assigned, I think,
Don and I attended an interesting little seminar on sheriff's contracts last week.
yeah,
So
that's part.
I'll reach out to you
Okay.
sometime. And
Yeah, you have the better notes than I do.
But anyway, anything else in here you want to elaborate on?
No, I think it's self-explanatory. It's pretty much the same as it was last year, barring any FOP negotiation with AD&C. And it's actually what I have here is 10,000, about 16,000 less than last year's budget overall. That could change a little bit.
I'm good with my question.
What about the maintenance supplies?
On that, I lowered that. Last year was, or this year was 10,000. I lowered that to 5,000, just based on Derek's numbers. They seem pretty accurate. So that's pretty much cut in half from 10,000 to 5,000.
Wouldn't that would be tied to how many cells you've got occupied, how many prisoners you've got, and what you got to do as far as cleanup, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some of it. I'm sure your deputies are messy too, but.
Right, yeah. So that's that, and some of that comes out of I believe it's boarding prisoners. Ginger orders maintenance supplies or cleaning supplies through, is it Kohl's, I believe it is.
I've seen some in the cold.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's all of them or not, but
So
I've
at
seen
some point, we could maybe get rid of the maintenance supplies and it's just a thought, maybe get rid of that. I think I don't really move it to the one.
If you get rid of if you get rid of it, where are you putting it?
It would go into the boarding prisoners.
Just boarding prisoners?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you give an overview of what is everything under boarding prisoners? I'm assuming food and you said you do build
Yeah,
some
food.
maintenance supplies under that?
Yeah, food, medical, some supplies. It, advanced medical, cell door, parts for cell doors. So we try to do some of it ourselves, food, medical.
There aren't any personnel costs or utility costs under
No.
that?
No, not at all.
And you get their uniforms and bedding and toiletries are usually done through the commissary fund, so less than that, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we have, if an ambulance is called there, that's taken out of boarding prisoners. Yeah, so most of it's medical. There's the lion's share.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, is that it?
Sheriff, are you going to leave before we're done?
If you guys.
I want to talk to you a second. Yeah, that way you pop out.
All right.
We're done.
Go ahead, you take two.
Madam Chair, I've been tracking some numbers. After my last question, I can give you some tentative numbers on my budget if you'd like.
That's fine. If you're comfortable doing that.
Preliminary, kind of give you an idea. Again, possibly subject to
adjustment and further argument, depending on what happens with the insurance. But again, my salary is right around 170,000, and that's kind of a wash with the state. So, but that's a number you got to plug in there. That always is adjusted July 1st. General Assembly works their magic on that. It's totally out of my control, but that number usually changes July 1st, but then they change the reimbursement as well. Then on my assistant salary, I was looking at an $84,000 appropriation for 2026 for overall office personnel. I'd be looking at $56,600. I would note that my 2025 estimate, I went back and looked at everything. There was a payment that somehow got into period 13. So I'm going to be asking, since 2024 is still open, that belonged back in 2024 and was well within my budget in 2024. Don't know how that slipped into the period 13, but I'll be notifying the clerk and the treasurer on that. So my 2025 estimate there is actually, should be right on the button with the 2025 appropriation. Then victim witness, I'm looking at 38. You can take cell phone off of there because nobody gets a reimbursement for their cell phones, even though we use our cell phones for county business all the time, but no one's asking for that. And we certainly didn't have it last year. The appropriation on that, I'd like to peg at 8,000 for the training for 2026. Also like to peg the supplies at 8,000. Fortunately, the judge, through his office, has been able to get some court grant money that we've been able to use a little bit of that for supplies. The appellate prosecutor is going to stay at 10,000, and as I say every year, that is the best bargain that we probably have. I would guesstimate the appellate prosecutor's office has performed well over $50,000 of work for us this past year easily, and it only cost us $10,000. I anticipate that that will remain the same for the coming year. So the offsets to that would be my salary reimbursed from the state, and as I said before, the victim witness coordinator, we're getting $35,000 from the state to reimburse that. If you take off the reimbursements from the 2025 appropriations for my salary, and we got $37,000 from the state last year, the actual amount that it was going to be appropriated for 2025 was $166,700. That's the amount that actually has to be paid by county sources. And I'm under budget. After I make that one correction, I'm under budget, either right on budget or under budget for 2025. And so if you make the same adjustments for what I've just proposed, you'd have to come up with $169,600 from county sources to pay for my office. And so effectively, on these preliminary numbers that I'm giving you, which again may be subject to further argument, but right now I'm looking at a 1.74% increase in my budget. Even at that rate, it's still lower than the budgets that were run prior to me taking office, and the main reason for that is because Mr. Bourne made a really great move when he brought on Ms. Lakin to my office, because she has a wealth of experience, and again, she is being paid as the victim witness coordinator, and she's also my chief clerk, and she's being paid as chief clerk at half the rate, probably less now, that position was being paid when there were three people, three clerks working in the office. We only have two clerks working in the office. And so, as I explained last February, she's doing two jobs for the price of about 1.5. So that's a really great bargain. So that's how my budget is lower now than it was 3, 4, 5 years ago. So now let's talk about that for a second, because I've been making this point about my office and about Mr. Gleckler's office for quite a long period of time now, at least since February, that everybody who works in my office and everybody who works in Mr. Gleckler's office, that line item in the major revenue on circuit clerk, which was budgeted at $350 for this current fiscal year, and what Mr. Gleckler estimated at $320 for next year. Year to date, this year through September, so that's 10 months, we're actually at $339 with 2 more months to go. I kind of think $320 is a lower number for next year, but with 2 more months to go, we're at $339. And so I anticipate that would be, another.
That would be $67,800 over the next 2 months.
Yeah, so we're gonna be well over $350,000. And so if you take what my office actually cost the county this year of $166,700, and you take the salary line item for Mr. Gleckler's office, let's see here, circuit clerk's office, and what it costs in expenditure, $215,101, and you add those together, most of what we cost the county is we're generating that funds for the county. So it's really de minimis how our offices affect the rest of the general fund. That circuit clerk line item revenue, the way that's generated is, the police go up and arrest people, and they do police reports. My office, we're the gatekeepers. We decide what gets charged. We decide what doesn't get charged. And then what we decide gets charged gets prosecuted. And those prosecutions lead to eventually either plea deals or convictions that result in judgments. And that is where that fine money in the circuit clerk's line item there is coming from. And so that's a direct result of the work we're doing. And then we need the circuit clerk's office, and why it's in their line item, we need the circuit clerk's office because they handle all the paperwork, and they deal with the public, and they collect the money. And it's a huge job. It's a huge job. So between my office and Mr. Gleckler's office, we're generating the money to pay for our offices. And so that's kind of the argument that I tried to lay out in February. And I'll let Mr. Gleckler speak for himself, but I can tell you that my office, we're we're running at minimums right now. As I just explained, we were able to cut a full body, a full employee out of the office. And again, I thank Mr. Bourne for doing that, for coming up with that idea. And I should say Judge Bourne now. And Bryce can speak for himself, but his office is at minimums right now. And so I know I keep hearing the drumbeat of we need to find revenue and all that kind of fun stuff, but I can tell you that if you cut my office or you cut Bryce's office, Mr. Kleckler's office, you'll be cutting bone, because that's going to impact our ability to do our job. And I'm just talking about the money right now. I mean, just set aside the fact that, we're keeping the county safe by taking care of the bad guys, or at least, I hate to say bad guys, but the people who are committing crimes, okay? And that includes gals too sometimes. And so, and that also is a requirement by state law. We have to do that job. That's something that's not an option. We have to do it to the best of our ability. And so that's the argument I'm making for our offices and what we contribute to the county. And I don't want to pick on other things that the county does, and I won't call it out, but I'm looking at line item 20 on this expenditure list. That is an optional function of the county, as opposed to what Mr. Kleckler and I do is a mandatory function. And all you got to do is look at the numbers there. And if you cut us, I'll be squawking. That's all I can say. But so those are kind of the numbers I have right now. And I thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it.
What, line item 20, are you saying line item, page, what?
He's talking about number 20 on that page.
First page. He's talking, what?
He's animal control.
Oh, okay, thank you.
What is it?
Animal control is what he's talking about.
Thanks, Walker.
All right, so after putting the coroner's office, sheriff's office, at the regional superintendents, county other expenditures, county clerk, and now I just entered in the state's attorney's office. Right now, our expenditures are at $5,008,395. And our, but then our revenue is $5,469,360. But assuming that we don't have, or we haven't paid that $500,000 that we borrow this year, right now, if we have to pay it in next year's budget, we are $39,000 in the hole. And we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, looks like 12 more departments that still need to submit their budgets. So again, I'll ask, if people are disagreeing with my revenue numbers and my expenditures, I would like to know it now, because I still don't understand how we continue forward with the expenses that we have and the revenues that we have, and I keep seeing a negative number. So of course, we need to get through the rest of everybody's budget, but I just want to make sure that we're all seeing the same thing and we're all on the same page here, because it seems like I'm just making numbers up out of thin air, and I don't believe that's the case. So, but I haven't ever heard an acknowledgement from that yes, we have a deficit here of a pretty large number. It seems like I'm the only one that's bringing this up. So if I'm wrong, then I completely can go along with that. But
I don't think you're wrong. We're just trying to figure out somehow, based on inaccurate numbers from the treasurer's office, what is the damage? I think from January, February, March to last meeting, we're trying to figure out a number. You know, what is the problem? What is the damage number? But no, I don't see that your numbers are off.
Okay. Well, then I'll keep moving forward with it. So if I'm doing it wrong, I need to know so I can fix it, but.
Could you just state again the calculations you just made? Could you read that number again?
Sure. So far, we have our adjusted revenue number at $5,469,360
Right?
for the estimated 2026. And I will say that that's based off of our current levy. So, you know, we do have an opportunity to increase the levy, which may end up being the case, so we could bump that number up. But based off of staying at the, whatever it was, that's 1.3 million from the property taxes. But anyway, the total revenue for $5,469,360. So far, total expenditures from the departments that it presented are $5,008,395. So we're good there, except that we borrowed the $500,000 in this year that I don't anticipate will get paid in this year, so we'll have to end up paying that next year. So that's another $500,000 of cash flow we have to come up with. I don't necessarily call it an expense, but it is a debt that we'll owe. So that takes our expenditures up to $5,508,395. So we're currently at a deficit of about $39,000 before anybody else is presented. So, everybody else will be presenting their expenses, be it salaries, maintenance, whatever it is. So that deficit is just going to continue to widen as we continue to throw in more numbers. So I just wanted to kind of point that out.
I think we have to look at what it would be to raise, what we would have to do to raise the levy. I think we have to look at those figures, whether we like them or not, whether we want to do it or not, we have to look at it, at least so we know. We have held taxes down for how many years? 15 years, Jim?
Last time we had a budgeted increase was 2009. It was over 5%. There was an increase actually even over to where it actually raised a nice tax rate. It was 2009. So yeah, about 15, 16.
But the levy's been raised regularly. I mean, we raised it 5% this year. Correct?
The levy number, yes, has gone up because your EAV has risen. Your tax rate has steadily declined.
Right.
Didn't you raise the tax rate from 0.27 to 0.37 about 4 years ago?
We raised the tax rate for the general fund by 10%. At the same time, we cut an equal number out of the liability insurance, 306,000 out of the liability insurance levy.
Wasn't there a 0.27 rate that went to 0.37?
Yeah, because but we offset that with a corresponding cut in liability insurance.
Okay.
The decrease in population went down below 15,000,
Right.
which allowed it to go up.
Allow us to go up that way. But that was what, 4 years ago?
On the 22 budget, because we didn't get the census numbers till 21.
Yeah, okay.
So
So that had, it was the general fund levy did increase, but the net effect on the taxpayer was a tax cut that year.
Okay.
and we've done
The
that
assessed valuation did not change. Always had.
and held them as religiously, but that may have hurt us in the long run for right now. In order for us to get it to where we may have to be, we may have to do that.
But, Mr. Bartman, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the levy kind of work like a balloon to where if we raise it on 37% or raise it to the 3.7 on one side, but maybe we look at cutting county highway or county bridge and lowering theirs, the overall increase to the taxpayer would be net because we lowered one division and raised the other.
Yeah.
Would that be?
That's what we're saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there would be a way to raise us to the 37, get more money in the general fund, but we could take it from possibly another location to where the taxpayer wouldn't have an increase.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, of course, the EAV going up is going to increase what they pay in taxes, but we would not have increased their overall tax rate.
Rate, the
And no-
rate, yeah.
And all of those factors need to be weighed in.
Yeah, and a rate to produce fund is only a rate to produce fund if you do your truth in taxation, because if you don't do a truth in taxation and you stay below, then it's really not a rate to produce.
Could I make one point?
Please.
And I only bring this up because there's a lot of confusion out there in TV land. I went back and looked at the tax bill that my wife and I pay. And if you go look at it, we're here in Pittsfield, 63% of what we paid for property tax this year went to Pike Unit 10 and John Wood Community College, 63%. 10% went locally here to City Pittsfield and the library together. So that's 73%. So 3/4 of your tax bill, that's a big number, has nothing to do with this board. And then you have, road district things and things like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and fire protection. But on my tax bill, only 16% of it related to what this board does. So, I'm pretty sure that if everybody looked at their tax bill, they'd come up with about the same number. 16% of what you pay in property taxes goes to the county, and of course the county, we cover the whole county, and we do a lot of stuff. And so the only thing I say is I'm speaking also as the former chairman of the finance committee back in 2011, 2012, when we had to deal with all these issues. And I would urge you to don't go down the false road of thinking that you're materially changing everyone's tax bill by the decisions you're making. Because if it's only accounting for 16% of the bill, your ability to move a taxpayer's tax bill is de minimis in either direction. So everybody out there at home, if it's important to listen to what we do, but I would listen to the other 75% closely as well, because that's where your money's going. And I don't mean that as a criticism, that's just the fact. So there's no need for this board, in my opinion, again, I've been there, done that, to overly concern yourself about where the levy is going to end up, because historically, the levy is driven by the EAV. EAV is driven by inflation, and it always goes up. And that's the way it was designed. That's how the whole system was designed, because inflation is always with us. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good. And over the course of time, your tax bill goes up and all the expenses go up. And it's staying within that alley is where you have to try to be. So, I understand completely what Mr. Bowerman is saying from a historical standpoint, we've been really, really, really good in this county of leaving money on the table, if you will. And sometimes we have to, make adjustments, and I think this year's going to be one of those.
Well, we've done that because, that's what we want to do. We want to leave it there, but we also, for landowners that are listening on this stream, the state of Illinois dictates the raise in property tax on the land, and it's been basically a 10% raise for the last 2 or 3 years or longer. And that's dictated by the state.
It actually changed in 2015. Now it's 10% of the median PI, which is 115.
Yeah.
They figure 10% of that value, add that dollar amount from 82 to 130.
So if you got,
That's what it is.
so if you've got a lower PI, you take a bigger hit.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that,
$20 on a lower PI may be 22%, 25%, where on 130 it might be 0.5.
so it would be good for the property taxpayers to pull out their tax bills
Yes.
and look at the taxing bodies that
I'll
are
go-
dictating.
I'll go a little bit farther than that. I talk to taxpayers all day, almost every day, and they're always mad, and they're upset, and I say, let's do this one thing together. And if they allow me to come to their property, I do, and we discuss things. But anyway, long story short, we're getting a pretty good following on Facebook, so hopefully a lot of citizens in Pike County are listening. You get a tax bill, you have a parcel index number. It's on your tax bill. There's this thing called the property tax inquiry. You can go to the county website, go to supervisor assessments, hit that link, and enter your property number, and you scroll down, you see all your values and everything, but you can go on down and there's this big circle, and it's got pieces of the pie, and you can put your mouse over it, and majority of the time, it's the schools are around 65% of your tax bill. What that means is every $100 of tax you pay, 65 of it's going to the school. And then depending on wherever you live in the county, on what your taxing bodies are, they vary, but seems like the average is 65% to the schools. So I tell them, if you're really upset with your tax bill, run for school board, because that's where you can make the most difference. And then it goes down from the county, fire department, down to townships, all your taxing bodies, and it'll give you a percent. And where I live, I think county's 28%, something like that. And it's different depending on the EAVs everywhere you go, where your taxing body is. But I urge all citizens, property tax inquiry, look it up. And if you have questions, call the assessor's office. They answer all kinds of questions, or your assessor answer questions. But they're pointing fingers at us when the real problem in my mind, and I tell them, your problem is the county board, or the problem is the school board. And if you want to make the biggest impact, run for school board. I'm not saying they don't need it or it's not justified, but if you feel that way, that's what you need to do.
And I think you make a good point, Andy, that we need to run the numbers different ways, to look at all options, keep them on the table. Derek and I have talked about different scenarios with the EAV, came in with, what we've got here. And I understand what you folks are saying, but whether we take money away by expanding the EAV or whether we do it through a rate increase, it's still money out of people's pockets. And as far as I can tell, in looking back at things, we've pretty consistently been raising that EAV. I mean, people forget we raised it 5% this time.
We don't raise the EAV. No. This board has nothing to do with the EAV.
Fine, you
That is
describe
a-
it how you want.
that
I'm
is a
talking about
supervisory
taking
assessment.
money from taxpayers.
I know, but you're saying the board has raised the AV and we have zero input on that.
The EAV is raised by the,
Is raised by the state and assessors.
yeah.
It's a
And
combination.
it's based more on the properties in the county.
Yeah.
But we can determine the final impact with this.
But you're talking levy and you're saying the AV is what I'm trying to say.
Fine, fine, thank you for the correction. What I'm trying to say is, however we describe it, whatever the technical terms are, from what people see, we're taking money, more money from them.
Yeah.
And I think we at least owe it to people to go through this budget and make sure we have found everything we can do to make it more reasonable for people. And some of the decisions that have been made over the past, like I asked Derek to put to print out the animal control. I mean, when you look at where that was just a few years ago and where it is now, it has really expanded exponentially. But we didn't do anything to create a revenue source for that expansion. And it doesn't seem to be slowing down either. It seems to continue to be growing. And I think that's one area that we have to take a look at. And it makes me feel a little sick to say it because I don't think there are many people that care for cats and dogs more than I do. But I just don't see how the county can afford to go forward with the path that we're on without some sort of support. If we can get a partnership with some of those trusts that have been set up to help with the animals, then that's great, I'm all for it. But, I mean, we're paying in the finance committee the cost of, just caring for these animals that we take in. And, even a crematory. We've got to start looking more at that and seeing what we can do there. And I think there are other areas that we need to look at as well.
Well, and I think when we do look at that, you may have to consider what the state is dictating. too.
Right.
Because we all know how the unfunded mandates are from the state of Illinois. They dictate that we do this and do that, but they don't fund any of it. They don't show us or give us any funds to, and they just tell us what we have to do and we have to
Like
pay
we
for
talked
it.
about last week, registering the cats. We had to
Yeah.
take
yeah.
that on. But
Farrell's fine.
maybe we just need to look at setting some limits, that we can only have so many at a given time.
Well, and I think your problem there is the only way to cut those numbers is euthanize. And nobody wants to hear that word at all. So I'm,
If I remember correctly, when we've had budget meetings in the past, we've limited them to 2 hours. And that was my plan for tonight. Is that all right with everybody?
absolutely.
So we've got 11 minutes.
Can I bring up something real quick?
Sure.
The IMRF levy.
Yeah.
I've seen what you've done with it on your calculator. Did Natalie forward to you the tentative IMRF rates for next year? It would have been back in May. I mean,
Oh, geez.
I don't have a copy with me tonight.
I will look. Will that give me,
That will give you, the Schlepp rates actually went down a couple percentage points. The regular IMRF rate is slightly lower. I mean, like 4/100ths, it's nothing serious. But then typically what I would do is take the law enforcement salaries times those Schlepp rates, and then everybody else's salary gets lumped into the rest. The 625 might be a freckle high, but it depends on what we do for raises.
Okay. Do you know if she can generate a report that has this payroll separated between the different types, between SLEP and that, or is it something
There
I'm
is
going to?
Yeah, there's a payroll report that's got SLEP and regular IMRF, and then the court, and it also takes out the voluntary IMRF, which we don't have to fund.
Okay. I'll ask her if she can run me a
It is
report.
all in there.
All right.
And that would be a good point. I did have a conversation with Rep. Barkey last week about IMRF. I was worried about some potential accelerated payments, actually the sheriffs. And we won't get billed for this, but the sheriffs will not qualify as an accelerated payment. And he also gave Natalie a couple ideas on how to not pay one that we think is coming up in January. So we don't have to figure those in as a potential increase.
Okay.
So actually, I think the 625 might be a freckle high, but it's a good working number to start.
Thank you. I know we've got 11 minutes or 9 minutes. I just wanted to bring up real quick on the animal shelter. We don't have to go into a full detail on it. But the biggest expense that I see on the animal shelter is part-time help. And so, you know, that's one of those things that if we can get more volunteers instead of actually part-time help, then that would be one thing. I've talked to Two Rivers, tried to get the economic development guy to work with them to see if maybe there's some grant money available, if there's some, there's the work study that Two Rivers does to where maybe it's actually getting people that might be interested in being a vet or something like that to where Two Rivers would pay them to come and work. So I'm looking or trying to find other avenues for the animal shelter to still be able to get some employees, but not be employees. So any assistance, anybody's out there willing to volunteer or whatever it is, I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but that's a big number of their budget is part-time help. It's almost about 40 to 50%. So.
And I know we get a lot of donations from the funeral homes and people that pass away. I literally wrote one last week to the animal shelter. I don't know if someone could produce a brochure to leave it at Niebuhr's and Airsman Hires to even encourage that more.
Andy, I think they have, haven't they?
I'm not sure.
And Gina?
I thought somebody was supposed to be.
I think,
Okay,
I think so. Matter of fact, they did a 501c3, so they could, didn't they?
They did something to where they.
Yeah,
okay.
they did do, the foundation did a 501c3.
For donations, right?
Yes.
And then they take them to, like the funeral homes and stuff?
They
Okay.
may have.
That's good. I just,
I think so.
And does that go into that animal control line under revenue?
gotta ask where it gets, I don't know where it gets deposited.
Yeah, we'll say it's supposed to, but I think it's kind of gone in different pots sometimes.
Yeah.
But, you know, that goes back to whatever line they say to put this check in. So maybe that goes back to those fiscal policies. But, you know, I think if it's a donation for animal control, it should go in animal control's donation line item. It shouldn't necessarily go to a different one, but anyway, yes, that's where I believe it's supposed to be going.
Okay. If we could real quick, I was hoping, Scott, you could address your budget question for your own budget?
My budget? I don't know, I'm not ready yet.
Well, no, I wasn't talking about the whole thing, but you said there was a question about the way things had been recorded in the past.
Well,
If I'm wrong, we don't
last
need to.
November, when you approved the budget, I told you it wasn't accurate as far as the salary line item for my help. And then you guys went ahead and approved it anyway. But I would put that actual figure in the estimating for 2025, their spreadsheet, but
Maybe it's better if you and Derek just talk
Yeah, that's
before
fine.
the next meeting?
Yeah, yeah, we'll get his numbers entered in. We'll figure it out.
All right.
There were, what, 20 items given to us by the auditors to get fixed. and policies and procedures was one of those, but the state of Illinois is looking over the shoulder of our auditors right now. And if they look at the audit that was prepared, they could come and ask us where we stand on those 20 items, and they need to be addressed. And in the same instance, when we get the next audit, there may be some more. So that'll be compounded, but we have more to, I think we need to address those sooner rather than later.
I agree, but unless we want to be meeting just about every night, it's going to be pretty hard.
I think there's specifics that need to come from different offices.
Yeah.
The policies and procedures have to come from the board, but a lot of the other items come from different offices that have to make adjustments. And it's not the board that has to make those adjustments. Policies and procedures, we do have to take care of probably.
And I think maybe some of those we can address during this budget development,
Okay, and that's fine too.
like that Fund 18 issue.
Right. Right. We need to get that cleaned. I would also like, and I sent a list of all the line items that I saw that we haven't used for like 5 or 6 years, to maybe we could start cleaning up CIC and getting rid of some of that stuff so we don't have 600 lines of things that we don't use anymore. But I also am looking at those special funds. When special funds are used for offsetting salaries or whatever else, I'd like to see it not as an offset. I'd like to see the gross amount for the salary, but then look at the special fund as a revenue up there, because those salaries are so important to know what that number is when you're trying to calculate Social Security and IMRF. You need to know what the real number is, not what the net number is. And we don't see that the way the current budget looks, just because of the way it's offset between special fund coming in against expense going out. But that's one thing I'd also was looking at trying to change within the budget itself, is trying to clarify and be able to read it a lot easier to see where the revenues are coming from and where the expenses are going, and even putting notes in there, came from probation for this use, or came from animal shelter for this use. So that way it's really easy to look at it and see, where the money's coming from, where it's going and what it was used for. So that's my wish list. I'm trying to hope to put it together like that, so.
But that's a good point. Okay. Anything else before we adjourn?
Are we actually adjourning, or I don't remember how we do this.
Or we can recess, does it?
Is that, you adjourn a budget or recess?
Mike Board always adjourn. We always recess before.
This is a special meeting, so I don't know if it's really a budget meeting. This special board meeting or a budget meeting?
It wasn't a board meeting. We made sure of that.
Yes.
It's a special something.
Yeah.
But we can adjourn it.
I'm fine with adjourning.
Yeah,
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make one.
Derek, second by Don. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? We're adjourned
what we did, as long as we get to go home.
7:59.
Well,